Alright, so for all of you guys who do acrylic pours, fluid paintings, and then you run a clear coat of resin over it and end up with dimples and pits in your clear coat, and you're tired of it, this is a video for you. Hey guys, today I'm going to want to cover a pretty important trick / tip that I have learned. First of all, let me just tell you that this canvas has silicone all over it. So I need to resin it. So the back, you see where I had put a bunch of cardboard to keep the canvas from falling down with the weight of the resin. I have discovered a trick through looking at other people's YouTubes, trying 100 different things. Literally, you name it, I've tried it. And this seems to be a fail-proof method. It's going to sound really crazy and almost just not even sensible, but the trick of adding more silicone to the resin while putting on the clear coat of resin is the way to go, because it works like a charm for me. So today I'm just going to walk you through how to do that. You saw that I just double gloved because there's going to be a lot going on, a lot of hands-on rubbing. Gets really yucky. So we're going to glove up. We're going to mix our epoxy resin for 5 minutes, making sure we're scraping the sides, mixing properly, and then I'm going to let it sit for another 5, and then I'm going to show you guys the technique. So get ready to have your mind blown. Because let's face it, a lot of us enjoy and love making our acrylic pours and acrylic flow paintings, and if you've ever used silicone in them, which many people do, then when you go to apply a resin top coat, which completely completes the look, you end up with pits, holes. It is a disaster. Way too many times has this happened to me, and no longer does it happen. So I want to share with you guys how I have an easy application of epoxy resin on top of acrylic pour paintings with, so you can feel the silicone, you can see it before I pour the resin on. Like I said earlier, I'm just going to add more silicone to the resin. So let's just watch. Okay, so we're going to mix. This is part B. I'm going to do about, I think, 4 paintings. They're pretty small canvases in this video, just to show you in depth how you need to rub it and mix it in well. It'll turn like creamy colored when the silicone's added. And I had a few to do anyway. And some of them cause you more problems than others. You have to go back and look. So I figured this would be a good tool or a way to show you how to problem solve as well. So we're mixing. By the way, when you first start mixing your 2-part epoxy resins, they'll be really cloudy looking. You always should use your timer, but also you want to go by the appearance of the resin, because you'll know that it's fully mixed when it is completely clear. See how cloudy it is here? You're going to see in a minute. I'll show you how clear it becomes when it is thoroughly mixed. Sometimes you'll have mixed it for the amount of time it said. You'll still see like strings of cloudiness. The best bet is to continue mixing until it is completely clear. So we're mixing. This is obviously sped up, but you see how clear that is? No cloudiness, just a bunch of air bubbles. So then you're going to let it sit for about 5 minutes to allow it to degas, which helps prevent excess bubbles when you're pouring as well. So here we go with the application. We're going to pour probably like 1/3. Like I said, every canvas was different depending on how many pits you end up with. But I always just start with a little bit. And I have not applied the silicone yet, because right now I'm just going to go in, and you can see I am rubbing it like into the cells, like where there's the little pits and all around. And I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on it as well. It's lifting some of that silicone, already adding some to the resin. There have been times where I didn't need to add silicone because there was such a small amount that I could just work it through. But that's very few and far between. And you can see where it's pitting right now. Let me cover the sides up. And make sure you rub the sides just as aggressively, basically, as you do the top, because the silicone rolls off the side as well. And there's one glove down. Throughout these applications, I think I end up putting on a total of like 8 gloves. But see, there's pits all inside of it. So I'm going to keep rubbing them. You do want to torch throughout, like you saw me do a minute ago, just to heat the resin, pop any bubbles, kind of see where you are. I'm going to let that one sit for a minute just to see how it goes, and then come back to it in just a few. So this is a tiny, I think, 4x4, maybe 5x5, just canvas panel. There wasn't a ton of silicone used in this at all. In fact, I think it was just some from a little bit of leftover paint that I had from a different pour. So it wasn't as dramatic as the other one. But as you can see, I'm going to rub it in, especially with canvas panels, because this is kind of like an El Cheapo one. And I believe I forgot to gesso it, so even more necessary to apply it this way. So I'm just going to add a little bit more resin to this small panel. At this point, I'm fully aware that the bigger one, the one to the left, is going to take a lot more work. So just kind of get this one out of the way. And again, torch it up again. And here comes the silicone. I don't really have an exact measurement to tell you for each one. I basically just do probably the equivalent of like a half a teaspoon maybe for a canvas this size. Maybe a quarter teaspoon. But you see how creamy it's becoming, the resin is? It's kind of like got a creamy appearance to it. That is the silicone working through it. You can see that I'm focusing on the areas where I know it's going to pit up, because I watched it earlier when I was working on the other one. And again, I'm pushing pretty hard. I mean, you can see the cups just shifting around. Especially up in that area right there. Yuck. I'm telling you, resin is everywhere on your hands. I should probably, hindsight's 2020, like quadruple glove, and from the very beginning, to be honest. Especially when you're doing this many clear coats. it was just one canvas, you'd only need a double glove. That one is still struggling. But you see where it went from cloudy to clear, and it does already look a lot better. And right there, I'm just kind of, when you saw me slowly go over it, I'm feeling for any kind of dimpling or where I think I might need to focus more on a certain area. What you saw earlier in the video, that most of the pits in this canvas were in the bottom right corner. So that's why you'll see me focusing on that area the most. And down another glove. And your resin is gonna, or it should be self-leveling. So just because, I will use a spreader in a little bit at the very end, just to make sure I have an even coat, but don't worry about the fingerprints or the hand marks that you're leaving, because they're not going to stay that way. And P.S., that canvas is not as close to that phone over there as it appears to be. So here is another one. These little ones it does look dangerously close, but it really isn't, I promise. This was a series of 3 little canvases that I did with the same paint colors, just in a different application process, like different colors at different times added into the dirty pour. I kind of just did it as an experiment, but they all 3 turned out pretty cool. So I think I'll hang them together. But, oh guys, that phone. I didn't realize how close it looks. And here comes the silicone. And you see how cloudy it gets? That just means it's doing its job. My gloves are sopping wet with resin. And here's the third and final one of the little ones. And you probably can't see because my glove is halfway coming off, but I'm bending the tips of my fingers so that I can apply even more pressure. And the silicone, you see I put a lot less silicone on that one, because that one, I really don't even know that I needed it. For some reason, there was no film of silicone at all. You couldn't feel any oily residue or anything, but I was not going to chance it, because resin is not cheap, and I don't want to have to go back 3 and 4 times to fix something tiny that would drive me crazy. You'll notice I keep coming back to this one. This one had so much silicone on it. And here comes the trusty spreader. At this point, I've been working with the resin so long that it was kind of counterproductive. It made it more work using the spreader, but whatever. I'm a creature of habit, I guess. Also, while we're just watching, the two pieces on the end are part of that trio with the other small one that you'll see come back into the picture in a minute. I want to hang those, like I said earlier, but I think I need to put the one that's going to come back in at the bottom in the middle, just for like color concept wise. But if you'll leave a comment below and let me know what your thoughts are on how I should hang, what order the three should be hung, the three smaller ones that are the panels, not the one in the middle, the one on the left and right, and then the one that will be re-entering the screen in just a moment, that one. So I'm thinking basically in order of left to right I would hang them. I'm thinking like a little chain. I don't know, just let me know below. So we're almost finished. It's pretty painless, and you'll see in a second it was very successful. My mind was definitely blown. Every time I feel nervous about it, and then turns out perfect. And here they are, right before I'm going to cover them, because you definitely need to cover them. Now this is the finished look. Look at that. There's no pitting at all. Zero. And let me tell you, there would have been a host of pits in all 3 or 4 of these canvases had I not done this technique. Now the blinds kind of make it look like there might be some, but there are none. Where you can see the reflection. That one is flawless. That one did have that one little piece of like paint that I will probably just file down and do a little tiny dab of resin. But yeah, so it works, guys. It's not a joke. Thanks so much for watching. Please like the video and subscribe if you want to see more. Also, please leave a comment below and what you think I should do with those 3 smaller ones. Thanks so much and see you soon.